Good morning, Miss Waller. How are you?
All right, yourself.
I am doing well this morning. Good morning, Miss Waller. How are you?
All right, yourself.
Doing well this morning. How many residents did you have registered for this workshop?
For this one, about 15.
15?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, I think it may be a delay on my end.
Say that again. You said it might be a delay.
Yeah, I feel like when I say something, it like comes out like maybe 2 seconds later, or you're receiving it 2 seconds later.
Okay, I see. Are you still
I
getting it
think
now?
so. No, I don't hear it now.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to start admitting students in. It looks like they're starting to have one person in the waiting room now.
Okay.
Howard, North Carolina A&T, all the HBCUs, from the SWAC to the MEAC to the SIAC, Miles College, you know what's going down. Grambling, Southern, all the HBCUs all around the world. You know the world wanna watch us after four. Like good news, so the world so good they want some more. Like good food, look at where we are and where we came. Now we all prove that we own what's only right. We love our all black schools. HBCUs, 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 HBCUs.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
And we will get started in just a few moments. We're going to give other residents just a few more moments to join. But thank you for
Okay.
joining us.
All right. I'm Alethea Hughes, by the way.
All
Good
right, nice to
morning.
meet you,
Thank
Miss
you.
Ellie T.
Alethea.
Pronounce your name one more time.
Alethea.
Alethea, pretty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Alethea, can you see my slides, my screen?
Yes, I did.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Chiquita Waller, the program specialist for the Adult Education Workforce Development with program within AEWD. Dr. Murray, did you want to go ahead and proceed, or did you want to give everyone maybe 1 or 2 more minutes?
I think we're gonna go ahead and get started and allow others to join. I did make you a co-host, Miss Waller, so that you can also see as others enter, you'll be able to see them real time.
Okay, all right. And apologies for not being on camera. I'm a little under the weather today, so I
Okay,
didn't
well,
want to disturb everybody with that. But
No problem. We'll hope you feel better.
thank you.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. So thank you, and welcome to, actually, let me record for those who may want to watch later. So good morning and welcome to the College Planning and Funding Virtual Workshop that's hosted by the Housing Opportunities Commission on this May 18th at 10 a.m. I am Dr. Christie Murray, and I am happy to be the speaker and facilitator of today's discussion as we talk more about college planning, college admissions, how to navigate through the financial aid process, looking for scholarships and getting those essays written and more. So welcome and thank you for joining us today. I want to kick it off with a brief video that really kind of set the tone for our discussion.
The key with me is no one will outwork me. No one. I love and I respect you guys. You motherfuckers won't outwork me. All starts with this. 2 hands. Putting it to work.
But you cannot erase the work ethic part. There is no getting around. Ain't no elevator to the top. You got to take the stairs. The elevator don't go to the top, man. Not in the world of success. You gotta take the stairs. Y'all gotta start getting gritty, man. I hate it when I see young people wasting their time, wasting all this technology got, just sitting around in this world that's been created for you, that everything is instant. But if you can combine your technology with your parents and your grandparents' work ethic, you could be rich, man.
Just ask yourself this week, do people know you for your work ethic? Are people like, man, you work hard? Are people actually commenting about you showing up early and staying late? Because if they're not, you're just blending in with everybody else's work ethic. At the end of the day, talent will not win the game. It is work ethic that will win the game.
You gotta get gritty, man. You gotta develop some dog in you. You got to get messed up sometimes. You gotta get dirty. You gotta get your feelings hurt. You gotta get disappointed. You gotta get told no. But in order to get the life of convenience, you gotta have a very uncomfortable life. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
And you're always gonna have haters, and haters are like, well, damn man, how much are you gonna do? Like, you do a lot of shit. I say, yes, it's my ambition. Of course, you gotta work every day. It doesn't end. And when shit goes bad and it goes sideways, or you're coming through this injury, or people are writing you off, it should drive you.
If you're gonna get it, you're gonna have to have that dog. You got an opportunity. So here's the deal. When you have an opportunity, why would you give 80%, 70%? Why wouldn't you always give 120%? From today on, you play whatever your best game is, you play that level every single time. Every time you practice, you don't care what the circumstances, what the situation is, every single time you give it 120%. It doesn't mean you're gonna score every time, but you can always give 120% effort.
All right. I really love
The key was
kicking off my talks with some sort of video, and this one is really about work ethic. And I'll be honest, at the heart of what we're going to talk about in today's workshop, when it comes down to how do we navigate through the college admissions process to jumpstart that and to think about your future career plans and looking at it from a college funding and scholarship perspective, you really do have to be willing to put forth the effort that many others aren't putting forth in order to accomplish the goals that you have set for yourself. So I hope that video just simply serves as a reminder that what you put into something is what you're going to get out of it. And sometimes you have to be able to work through the discomfort to get to a better place and get comfortable being uncomfortable, as they shared in the video. So what are we going to do today? So the purpose of today's workshop is really to talk about and share impactful strategies when it comes to college admissions and planning. Make sure that we talk through some of the funding opportunities and looking at the best ways to go about searching and applying for scholarships. And then certainly I always like to take advantage of any opportunity I have to raise awareness of historically Black colleges and universities. Ultimately, my vision is for everyone who attends any workshop, talk, have a conversation with me, and more, is that you can get accepted into the college of your dreams and graduate debt free. Whether you're interested in a 2-year college, vocational trade school, community college, 4-year college, or graduate school, this still is relevant and applies to you. So with that being said, I think that it's important to think about, there's so much information out there on educational pursuits and almost on information overload in many cases. And so what I want to do with today's workshop is close the gap and fill the gap for you so that you can get relevant information that you need in a concise way, but also find the support and the funding that you need in talking through some of those things. Whether you're in high school or after, life after high school, or if you're a working professional, I want to make sure that we talk about some relevant things to help you with your educational pursuits. So as we're talking today, I want you to think about, what's your why? Why are you here? Why did you decide to join the workshop? Let me know in the chat, Miss Alethea, if you are attending because you have a young person who's about to start their college or high school journey, or if you are a professional who's interested in making a transition, or you're currently or want to work on your educational pursuits. Let me know how you're participating today. And I'll share with you a little bit about my why as you're letting me know in the chat. What's your why that made you want to attend today's workshop? I often tell my story, and I'm just kind of abbreviated today. When I was in high school, I was the youngest of 3 girls, and I have an older set of twin sisters who were currently in college when I was a senior in high school. And after visiting all these schools, I came home one day and told my mom I wanted to go and attend Hampton University and major in engineering. And so she and I kind of went back and forth because Hampton is a private school and more costly. And she thought that we would not be able to afford me going to Hampton. And so she wanted to encourage me to pursue a state public school, which would have been more affordable. But I knew where I wanted to go. And my mother challenged me that if you really want to go to Hampton, then you'll need to roll up your sleeves, put forth that effort that we talked about and saw in that video, and figure out a way to help fund your education. So I did. I was in high school. I had really prepared and put forth a lot of effort to have essays pre-drafted, letters of recommendation on standby, and more. And one day my school counselor came in and said, "Hey, Christie, I remember you telling me that you wanted to go to Hampton and major in engineering. And what if I told you I just ran into a scholarship opportunity that would be great for you? They're looking for students who want to go to Hampton, major in engineering, but the only caveat is your package has to be postmarked within the next 24 to 48 hours. Can you make that happen?" And so I looked at her and I'm like, "Oh, that's a bit aggressive, but I can do my part, but can you get my transcripts out that quick?" And so she chuckled a bit, but she said, "We will make sure we get your transcripts out and your package will be postmarked by the deadline." So I did my part, school did theirs, and 2 interviews later, yes, I had to undergo 2 scholarship interviews to get this opportunity. And by the grace of God, I was blessed with the scholarship for my education. That package also came with summer internships every summer that I was in I was in college, and a full-time job when I graduated from college. So I was really blessed on the day I walked across the high school stage to have that opportunity, because there were people who invested in me and were willing to help me. And that's the reason why I said that if I have an opportunity, I would do the same to help others. Since then, I went on to graduate from the Hampton University with an electrical engineering degree, and went on to pursue education 3 other times with a few master's degrees and a doctorate degree. And so I love learning. And so as I love to learn, it is my mission to also reach back and help others who also want to get an education in whatever capacity makes sense for them. And so that's really my why. Also, not only was I a scholarship recipient, a winner, but I've also have been a scholarship judge and a scholarship provider. So I've evaluated scholarship packages, and I also have a summit that I host every August. And I would love to invite you and those that you know to attend, where I also have donors who help me to fund scholarships for other students. So I'm really passionate about these efforts. So what we're going to do in the first part of today's chat is we're going to talk about college and career planning strategies, because I want to make sure that you get some really key strategies to help navigate through what do I want to do with the rest of my life, or if I want to change what I'm doing now, how do I make that shift? And what kind of education do I need to be able to effectively make that shift? And what colleges offer programs to support that? So one of the things that I did back in 2018, I published my first book, and it's called College Planning Strategies I Wish Someone Had Told Me. And I wrote this book to help students get accepted into college, 2-year, 4-year, community college, etc. And so I'm going to introduce some of the key strategies in my book with you. And then I also, after I wrote this book, I actually got some great advisement from my 2 sons who were 16 and 14 at the time I wrote the books. But I said, Mom's going to write. What should I write about? My oldest son said, your college planning, Mom, would be great. But don't just tell us what to do. Show us how to do it. And so that is the reason why I actually wrote a workbook. I created a workbook of templates to go along with my book. So if I tell you that you need to have a plan, I'm going to give you a sample plan. If I tell you that you need to track your college requirements, I'm going to give you a spreadsheet to help you track those requirements. So each of my books, my college planning book, and later I'll talk about my college funding book, but they both have accompanying workbooks to help you along the way. So thank you very much. Okay, so thank you, Miss Alethea. I love it. So you want to upgrade your education and skills. So I'll make sure I talk about some ways in which you can do that as we talk today in the workshop. So we're going to go on a brief journey. We're going to talk about your college and career planning. And so Miss Alethea, since you are currently a professional already, I'm going to really highlight ways that you can maybe pivot with your educational pursuits. I'm not sure if you have a bachelor's degree, higher, or associate's degree, or what your educational background is, but I hope you can find information to help you along your journey with what I share. So I'm going to talk briefly about why it's important to have a plan and to use your time wisely. And then we're going to cover how to create a scholar profile. And it's really like a 1-page resume. And then we'll talk about choosing a major and choosing colleges. And then how do you go about applying to college? If you want to go to a 4-year school or graduate school, it's a very similar process. So we'll talk through that. And then navigating the funding process. How do you make sure you have funding that you need to really maximize your education without going broke? And I love stressing that part. But one of the first things I would encourage you to do is to think about where you currently are. So if you're starting any trip or journey, you have your initial point that you're starting from. And I want you to think about that. If you're currently in school, or if you're about to go back to school, maybe you've been to school before, what was your ending grade point average? If you're currently in school, what's your current grade point average? Make sure that you know, true or false, only students with a high GPA can get scholarships. It's absolutely false. So I want you to be thinking through up front. I don't necessarily have to have the highest grade point average or the most scholastically sound to get awarded scholarships. There's all different type of scholarships, and there are many to meet your specific needs. Also, whether you are in high school or post-high school, what is your school counselor's name? If you're not in school right now, but once you get back in school or college, what's your advisor's name? Because those things are helpful because they have access to information that you might not. And that's the reason why my school counselor was able to pull me to the side and say, hey, Christie, this scholarship would be great for you, because I was willing to have that conversation. And we had an actual relationship and a rapport with each other. Also, if you don't know the process of getting your transcripts, please make sure you do, whether it's your high school transcripts or your college transcripts. If you're going on to get higher education, you need to be able to access those things. Number 5, true or false, the best time to apply to college is in the spring of your senior year. The answer is really false. Whether you're going to graduate school, it could be a little trickier with graduate school, depending on when you want to start school. But if you want to start, whether it's college or graduate program on a traditional schedule, meaning you start in the fall and you have a fall semester and a spring semester, Ideally, the best time to start your application and get those applications in would be in the fall of the year prior to you wanting to go to school. So if you're in a program or if you're in high school and you're thinking the spring, you can miss out on some pretty key financial opportunities by waiting so long to apply, because most schools give out their funds on a first come, first served basis. Also, if you are thinking about your careers, and I would encourage everyone to really always be thinking about your career, whether you already are a career professional or not, you should be thinking about, where am I now? Where do I see myself in 3 to 5 years from now? Where do I see myself in 10 years from now? And what do I need to do educationally, skill-wise, capability-wise to align myself with what is next? And then what are your top 3 college and school choices? So I want you to think through those things as well and make sure that you are aligning your college or your educational choices with the careers that you have in mind. And then I'm going to skip to the last one, true or false, social media accounts and your online reputation does not matter. That is false. It absolutely does matter. Not only do college admissions professionals, but job employers are also looking at you online to see what kind of person you are. How do you brand yourself? Will you fit into their environment? So please, please, please manage yourself as a brand. And we'll talk more about that. So next, I want you to think about, what do you need to do to choose a career and then a college? And I said in that order. Most of the time, students will say, "Oh, I really wanted to go to, Spelman University," and not even sure whether or not Spelman has their major. So you want to choose a major or career profession that you want to focus on, or you have an initial interest in, and then start narrowly looking at what schools offer those programs. So we're going to talk about that. So a couple of facts for you. You do have options and you have choices. Whether you are new to the workforce or new to recently about to graduate from high school, or if you are professional, even if you're professional, you can pivot in your career. You're not stuck doing the same thing all the time. But even as you might choose to pivot, you will have to think about, what kind of education and skills will I need to really be successful at getting that next opportunity? But you do have choices. Now, the other fact that I like to share, particularly with my young adults, is whatever you choose, it will inherently involve learning. You're not going to be able to get around developing new skills, new knowledge, becoming competent at what you do, getting trained up, growing, and gaining experience. All those things afford themselves to learning opportunities. So when I speak to young folks and they say, "Well, I'm not going to college because I'm sick of school and I'm sick of learning." Well, I always caution, whether you join the military, whether you go straight out into the workforce and bypass college or community college, you're still going to have to learn. Nobody's going to hire you to work a job and not expect you to have to go through some training, education, development opportunities. So please get in the mindset that learning is a part of life and it should be a part of your professional success and experiences. So that's 2. 3, the third fact, you can change what you choose. So not only do you have options, but what happens if you get into something and you decide, this really isn't what I thought it was, or maybe I'm not making enough money to really support my family, or other factors? You can pivot and change. So don't let anyone tell you you are stuck. You are only as stuck as the limited effort you're willing to put into something. But if you're willing to put forth effort, make some adjustments to shift, be transformed, and to grow in different ways, you can change and do whatever it is you set out to do next. So as you figure out what you want to do next, Miss Alethea, for example, you have to be willing to do some research. So if you say, "Miss Alethea, I want to pivot careers and I don't know what your current profession is," and please share it with me if you feel comfortable, and then tell me what you might want to see yourself doing later, because that will require you to do research to bridge the gap between those 2 careers.
Right now, I'm immigrant, I mean, back home, I do go to college, diploma as a secretary, and then I'm working at an international company as a consultant, and then I'm secretary there.
Okay.
But when I moved over here, and then because my English not good enough to be working in the office, and not confident to become like receptionist either, except they are in the international I mean setup, maybe the people can accept my English, and then I live in the small town in South Carolina, and then the job that I found is like manufacturing,
Mm-hmm.
to be assembly, and then working in the hotel as a waiter, or like service in the party, and then in the end I joined with a Walmart because I have a kid. I'm single mom, have a kid, and then where Walmart willing to accommodate my hour to be with a kid, where I'm able to drop the kid, go to school, and then pick up from the school. So I work between the hour,
I see. Okay.
Now I moved to Maryland. I just transfer. I thought if I move to Maryland, I can find other job, but I'm still at Walmart. And then I'm customer service, and then I work with my feet, and then I'm already in the over 50. So
Okay.
I don't know the chance that I'm gonna do between the scare for the education because the language problem, and then I got pushed that I have to do more to be survive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Understood.
yeah, because the economy like this,
Okay, well, I appreciate you sharing that
All
with
right,
us,
thank you.
as we're thinking about ways that thinking about your situation and things that may be able to help you to accomplish your goals. So it sounds like you're potentially, are you open to going back to school and developing new school skills? And I'll be honest with you, 50 is not an age where you can't continue to learn new things and to retool and reskill yourself. So
Yeah,
don't let that be a
yeah.
discouragement.
I mean, already 2 year looking for school, and then I also relearn to get my high school degree online. I get my minimum to brush up my English, my knowledge. So I took the high school online, and then I tried to go to college, and then I say, how can I do go to college while I have to go to work, and then how I can manage with my limitation of learning, and then I still have to provide for the family, you know?
Understood. Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will talk more generally today about the whole college and career
Okay.
process. And so hopefully that
Yeah.
will give you more insight. I will tell you that I it is more difficult when you have a family. I'm also a single parent, and several of my degrees, I had to pursue my education while taking care of my family and working full time and traveling. So it is certainly, while it's more challenging, it is not impossible. So
Yeah.
let that serve as a form of encouragement. And so as we talk through, I'll give you a few examples of ways
Okay.
that you may be able to accomplish those priorities that you have while working on your education.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I do want to talk about, as you're doing your research, and particularly in your situation, when you're thinking about careers and your college major, think about what you're naturally good at and what you could see yourself doing. I think I've heard you talk about a few different type of roles and jobs you've had. So you might be interested in something that's customer service oriented. or another type of profession. So think about those things that you think that you could do very well, even with, migrating from another country. Your English sounds pretty good to me. And I know while some, it may be a challenge, but I don't think it is bad as you are. I can hear you pretty clearly. And so how other people experience you might not be how you might feel that they're experiencing you, but
Yeah.
I would encourage you to continue to strengthen that, but to also have confidence in your ability to communicate even as you're communicating now, because you were very clear and articulate as you described what you had going on. So build on the things that you have and continue to strengthen those things. But as you
Thank
do
you.
that, do your research, think about what you might want to do next in terms of a career and a profession, and then start thinking about what kind of education and training will that require, and what do I want to pursue to close the gap. And then once you start saying, okay, I need to have X kind of degree or certification or certificate, then you let that drive what colleges, vocational trade schools, what kind of educational programs you might want to pursue. Then you want to look at, in your case, because of your dynamic life environment and your life priorities, like I did, I eventually had to, this was back when online schools weren't very popular, or people looked down on online schools. And then they had a greater appreciation for them when COVID hit, and realized that the normal traditional brick and mortar schools were disadvantaged because they didn't have a means and an infrastructure, technology infrastructure in place to quickly be able to pivot to an online virtual learning environment. So now I was ahead of the curve with that because I didn't have a choice. I wanted to pursue an education, but I also had 2 sons to raise. And so I knew that getting my education and keeping that going while I worked and more was important to me, and important to me being able to increase my earning potential to take care of my family. So that is certainly an option as you're exploring schools. Look for online programs that have flexibility so that you can take your classes asynchronous. That means when you have the time to take them, and then they allow you to turn your assignments in within that school week. And it's really driven by your schedule and not by a set classroom time. So there's a lot of flexibilities built into the educational environment now that you can take advantage of. Also look at the tuition and training costs associated with the schools and universities and the type of program you're looking at, and what kind of jobs, which goes back to your earlier point, looking at the jobs that you might want to pursue as a part of your research. And then if you find some jobs, what's the earning potential? What kind of salary ranges do they offer so that you can walk into it with more information and awareness? Now, if you're wondering, this might actually be a really good tool for you, Miss Alethea. I have a career assessment tool that I want to introduce, and it's a great way to look at your skills, interests, and your values. And once you answer, I think it was like 60 questions, it will give you insight in what kind of careers, professions, and jobs that might actually be a good fit for you. And so I'm going to introduce the ONET Profiler, but it's really and the web link is here in the QR code. If you scan it, it'll take you to that career assessment tool. But it's administered by the United States Department of Labor, and it's a tool that can help you find out how your interests and skills relate to jobs and careers in the world. So what you can do is, and there are 60 questions, and they look kind of like this, and they go really quick. So it's really a frowny face all the way up to a smiley face ranking. But you'll look at these different activities: build kitchen cabinets, lay brick or tile, develop a new medicine. But they really get to the heart of, are you creative? Do you like working with your hands? And so they ask it, are you musical or artistically talented? They'll ask it in some interesting ways, but you just check whether if a frowny face is something you absolutely don't want to do, you would click the frowny face. If it's something you really love to do, you would click the smiley face, and you will quickly go through all 60 of those questions, whether you strongly dislike it or you really like something. And then once you go through all 60 questions, it will spit you out a interest results, and it'll say RIAS E, and C? Is it something that did you match better with more of a realistic, investigative, artistic, social interest, enterprising interest, or conventional? And so mine were pretty well balanced. Mine actually scored a little bit higher with artistic than I thought it would. But if you look, it's really closely in line. There was nothing that really shot up really high or really low beyond the others. So that really means that I am really balanced, or there's a lot of things that I may be interested and can do well. But the other thing is it gives you this job zone indicator here, and it's a 3 for me. Means that whatever those interests or careers that they're going to recommend, it will require some medium level preparation, job preparation on my part. So that means it's likely that I'll have some education and school involved. So once it shoots you out the job zone, and it'll say which degree of job preparation, mine was actually a 4. So it means high job preparation. It's likely some college involved. And so it'll show you what careers that fit your interest and preparation levels. So the ones that stuck out were child, family, school, social work, health, education, legislative, broadcast, radio. And even though I'm not on the radio and doing broadcast announcements, I do a lot of these virtual talks. I go live, I do small videos, and I share a lot of content. So that makes sense. It still feeds that part of my interest. But also career, technical education, teachers, secondary school. So while I am not a school teacher by profession, I do work a lot with adults and young adults on careers, technical education. And so it's very interesting how this tool spit out things that I'm already doing and I already love doing. And I didn't even have to tell it. I just answered those questions. So I think this tool will be helpful to you as you're thinking about what could you see yourself doing really well. So think about that career assessment tool. And once you choose one, so for the sake of this exercise, I chose the career technical education one. And so once you click on that one, it'll populate a page that looks like this. And it'll tell you things such as, it'll give you a description of what this career or profession does. What would you do on the job? What kind of personality that people who are interested in this work or this career would likely have? They have to be dependable, attention to detail, concern for others, for example. What kind of technology would you likely use in this job? I think that's helpful when you're thinking about what you might want to do. It'll also tell you what kind of knowledge, and this goes to your point about bridging the gap between what you're currently doing and getting skilled up in other areas. It'll tell you, like for this, you need to have a customer service focus, administrative services, be able to teach and design courses. And it'll also tell you what kind of education you'll need. This one says a bachelor's degree or certificate after high school. So then now if I know that I need a bachelor's degree and we start talking about careers and colleges, then I'm likely going to be interested in looking at 4-year colleges or certificate program. And that's why I would love for you to explore this tool. It's free to use, so there's no harm in completing it. And I'm curious to see what your results would be. And it also will show you your job outlook. How do you decide what jobs you might want? Certainly want to look at it from a financial standpoint as well. Not the only factor, but it is certainly an important factor for you to consider. So take a look at this assessment tool and use that to help guide you. And once you get your results back, reflect on those and see where you either need to do more research. Maybe you can begin to make a list of potential careers that you really might be strongly interested in, and identifying what training needs and requirements you need to move towards that career. And then that's when you start to put together a college plan. How do I want to get the education to close that gap in what you're doing? And once you start to solidify, I need to go to college or get a certificate, then you start to put together your plan. And your plan should be tailored based on your specific situation. Then, now that you have your educational requirements that you need for that career, now it's time to research those colleges and those schools. There's a lot of different type of schools, and I highly recommend that. And some of this is for high schoolers going into college, I would recommend that they pick 5 to 10 schools, but you probably could get away from 3 to 5 schools that meet your need, Miss Alethea, and make sure that you look at the educational requirements, check out the school, the facilities themselves, how much their tuition is, what are the requirements to get admitted. So those things will be important in what you decide to do next. Find a school that fits your personality and go where you can afford. I know you have a lot of family obligations, you're working, taking care of your family. So finding an affordable school should be important to you as one of your priorities. And then if you have an opportunity to visit those schools, I highly recommend you visiting in person if you can, virtual if they're not nearby. But if they are, stop by in person, ask your questions live, speak to someone, build a relationship with someone on campus, and allow them to to help you answer your questions, to get your questions answered. And then rank what's important to you. Is it the program that they offer? Is it the fact that they're close to home, or they have a large or small campus size? Or whatever those factors are, do your research and rank those priorities. And then as you come up with your list of 3 to 5 colleges or educational institutions, put them on that template. And so this is one of the templates that I do offer in my workbooks. But this one will help you to list out those schools, where they're located, whether or not they offer a tour, what's the tuition, the application fees. All those factors matter. And so it'll give you the ability to really narrow down the requirements so that you can use your time as you're putting together your plan more effectively. When the deadlines to apply, if they require you to write essays, etc., you would want to certainly know what those requirements are. Having them here in one place is very beneficial, because you can then organize them by which one has a due date coming up first, and then you focus on that application and then the subsequent ones. So it gives you the ability to see everything, maybe even look at the tuition and say, oh, this one is more affordable than these 2 below. But you seeing it all in one place, it has a lot of value. And then once you start to make that list and do your research, do know that there are over 2,000 colleges, universities, and educational institutions in the United States. So whether you're looking at a vocational or trade school, 2-year college or 4-year college, there are options and affordable options at all of these levels. With a vocational or trade school, you will walk away with a license, a certification or a certificate, and it generally takes you 2 years or less to complete that certificate or that program. 2-year colleges or community colleges usually require about 2 years, and you'll walk away with an associate's degree. And if you wanted to, you could take that 2-year community college degree, associate degree, and transfer into a 4-year college and complete the final 2 years. And you'll walk away with a bachelor's degree. So those are the the common options when it comes down to looking at different colleges of your choice. Now, it's also important to understand the distinction between a public and a private college. Public colleges generally are those more affordable ones that are state and federally funded. They're usually larger than private schools, and they usually have an in-state and an out-of-state tuition rate. So if you live in the state of Maryland and you decide that you want to go to a public school in Maryland, you're going to have a much more affordable tuition rate than if someone came from California to that same school that you're attending. They're going to pay the out-of-state rate, and it's going to be a higher rate. So I certainly want to encourage you to think about public versus private. Private schools are more costly. They don't receive the predominance of their funding from government entities. They usually get those from other donors, alumni, they raise funds, etc. And so they don't typically have an in-state and out-of-state tuition rate. They usually have one tuition rate, whether you're in-state or out-of-state, and it's usually higher than your public schools. But I also want to introduce you to predominantly white institutions known as PWIs and historically Black colleges and universities. PWIs are institutions, they're both institutions of higher learning. And you can go to a predominantly white institution, whether it's a 2-year or 4-year college or university. And usually the demographic is about 50% white students and then or higher. And then there are other minorities who also attend PWIs. They can be private or public schools. And each year, there are over 9 million students who attend PWIs. But I also want to introduce you to HBCUs. Historically, Black colleges and universities have been around for over 200 years. And African Americans began attending HBCUs to pursue their education when they weren't able to obtain their education at white institutions. And so today, I'm happy to say that there's over 107 HBCUs in the United States, and they enroll more than 228,000 students each year. They can be public and private schools as well, and they can be great, affordable, and high quality educational options to students. And there are minorities and predominantly minorities at HBCUs, but I will tell you, there are also white students at HBCUs. So people are generally shocked by that, but they shouldn't be, because there's a great divide or great makeup of HBCUs as well. So next, I want to encourage you that if you do not have a plan, develop a plan. I think it's important for you to think about, what do I want to do next? Pivot in my career. What kind of education is it going to take? What kind of college or educational institution can help me to accomplish those goals? And then now put it together with a plan. Your plan should be clear and effective. It should not be stressful. It should not be complicated. You want to list out the goals of the task, what type of task it is, how much is it going to cost, if you have to pay application fees or senior fees or admissions fees, whatever those look like, you want to highlight those on your plan. Include the start and the due date for all of your activities, and then track your progress. I love tracking my progress to see, hey, I'm almost finished with this, or I'm really finished with that one, but I haven't started on this one. So let me really roll up my sleeves and get going, because this is timely and it's going to be due soon. So, but put together a plan and make sure that your plan is based on your situation, not somebody else's, because what works for them might not work for you. And make sure that you execute your plan and you revisit it and update it as frequently as you need to. And the next thing I want to share, even though I'm not going to get into the grade levels because I think this workshop doesn't require that, but based on where you are, whether you are in high school or whether you're post-high school or working professional, use your time wisely. So if you know that there are certain deadlines coming up, or certain essays you're going to need to write, or certain deliverables and tasks you're going to have to meet, use your time very wisely to make sure that you're building your plan and you're executing your plan. You're not missing key deadlines. Okay. Also, I want you to think about why your brand matters. So even as you think about what you're doing today, and as you think about making a career move or navigating to college next or beyond college, what you do matters in terms of your brand. How you show up, whether it's in person, on paper, online, in school, on a job, or on a court if you're an athlete, how you show up matters. People are always watching you. I always say, live your life like you're on a constant job interview. Not so much to the point where you're rigid and on pins and needles, but think about how you show up and what kind of experience people have with you, because that is what is going to precede you in most cases before you ever walk into a room. So make sure that you have a positive attitude, you're self-disciplined, you set the example and be a leader, and then you'll be respectful, even as you may have to tell people no, or no thank you, or I'm not likely to do it that way, or I'd like to do it differently. Be respectful in how you go about saying whatever you're saying, and do it in a way that allows you to communicate well. And I do believe you can do all those things, protect your brand, and still stand your ground and get those things accomplished you want. But the key goal is to make sure that you differentiate yourself from the competition, because a lot of folks aren't going to show up in these ways or think about themselves as a brand. So from this point forward, see yourself as a brand. You set the tone for what other people will experience with you. It'll be great for some people. Some people it might not be their style or their taste. Be okay with that too. But whatever you do, be respectful and professional about it. So next, I want to move into why it's important to build a scholar profile. Miss Alethea, in your case, I would refer to this more as a resume than just a typical, just highlighting your educational objectives and goals. But you certainly want to maybe allow those to shine through on your resume. But generally, everyone should have a scholar profile or a resume. And it's really the way that you tell the story of who you are on paper. So what do you want to do? You want to build it in a way that this is the time for you to self-promote yourself. It is not the time to be humble and say, oh, I don't want to include that award. No, these people don't know you and they want to know quickly and concisely, how can I get to know Miss Alethea in 7 seconds or less by reading her scholar profile or her resume? Now, you want to allow others to get to know you. And what I generally guide students to do is to share their name and their normal contact information. If you think it's important to highlight, hey, I'm interested in, shifting careers, you don't want to say shifting careers, but you want to talk about what is your professional or career objective? What kind of education do you already possess? Do you have honors and accomplishments? Highlight your employment experiences. And it sounds like you have some pretty good ones, Miss Alethea, to highlight. If you've been involved with community service or other outside work activities, if you have membership to some organizations and you think it's worth highlighting on your scholar profile or your resume, certainly do so. And any other relevant courses or interests or hobbies that you want to showcase. Now, here's what I'll tell you. You can use your scholar profile or your resume for several purposes. And I have students who have done all of the above. You can use them for college applications, scholarship applications, letters of recommendation. When you're writing your own essays, you can refer back to it. Or if you're looking for employment opportunity, it can easily be shifted to become a resume, or you could pull a lot of content from it for your resume. And so you would love to be able to create one comprehensive scholar profile and then tailor it based on how you want to use it. Here's how it looks when you've created it. It should be clean, it should be crisp, it should be formatted well, it should have minimal grammatical and spelling issues, because you want to set the best tone for how you show up on paper, and you can't do that with a bunch of typos and edits. So feel free to get someone else to look at it and give you feedback. Once you have created it, feel free to go back, look at it, see if there's areas that you need to strengthen. Maybe you realize, hey, I need to get more training or development or experience in some areas. Close those gaps, fill those gaps by getting the experiences that you need. And then make it a habit of updating your scholar profile at least twice a year. One rule of thumb I usually give to young adults is update it in the summer when you're done with your spring semester, and update it in the winter when you're done with your fall semester. That way you always have a ready-made scholar profile or a resume that you can quickly turn to. And only include the scholar profile with a college application or a scholarship application if that entity says that, yes, we're happy to accept additional documents. But if they say, don't give us anything except what we asked you for, and we did not ask you for this. If they ask you for a resume, great. But if they didn't, and they say don't provide additional documents, then I would certainly not include that in the package. Now we're going to talk about what goes into your college application package. It usually has 5 key parts, and it could have more or less depending on the entity, but it could start with your college application. You might need to submit transcripts. They may ask you to write an essay or two, or to obtain letters of recommendation from teachers, community leaders, employers, etc. And or it may require test scores. On an undergraduate level, you might be asked to provide an SAT or an ACT test. As you transition to graduate school, they may be looking for the LSAT or the MCAT or other tests that will test your higher learning on the graduate level basis. But I also want to draw your attention to every college application is different. So some you can apply directly on that entity's website. Others you can go through a web portal like the Common App or Common Black College app, or you can read their instructions and they may allow you to print and mail your application. But whatever you do, follow their directions. And every college has a different application fee. So you want to consider how much those applications will cost in order for you to apply and build that into your plan. And when you're applying, in many cases, I'm going to skip through this. You can apply early decision if you're doing kind of an undergraduate educational pursuit. And the same may be applicable for graduate school. But usually early decision and early action, you have to apply in the fall. And generally, most of their deadlines is in early to mid-November. And so if you are looking at college applications, I would encourage you to revisit the section when they tell you, where it tells you what you need to include in your application package and when the deadline is. Very important. So then I also want to introduce you to the Common Application. This is the web portal where over 1,000 colleges are members, and you can create an online account and then you can search those colleges, look at their requirements, and then you can apply to multiple colleges using the same information you've already put into the portal to apply for those colleges. Every August, the Common App opens up their new application, so you will be able to apply starting as early as August of each year. And some colleges require applications fee. Others, they do not. It's free for you to actually apply through the Common App. So you'll want to look at each applicant, each college application to understand what that looks like. And here is the home page. You can create an account on the right, sign in if you need to. You can even just research colleges and find out what type of requirements they have here all in one place. I use this with my both my sons, and it was so helpful because we didn't have to go to all these different websites. We were able to look up a lot of the colleges in this one place. And next, I want to introduce you to the Common Black College app. It works very similar as the other portal. You would create an account, log in, and you can access more than 66 of the HBCUs through this app. I think you pay a one-time $20 fee, but then you can look, research, and apply to multiple HBCUs once you have paid that initial fee by using their system. So those are some great alternatives to help you to build your profile once and reuse that information without having to keep typing in multiple times for each application. And then next, I want to make sure that you're thinking about your transcripts. So whether you are in high school and you're trying to get transcripts, or if you are in college or want to go back to college, make sure you know how to get your transcripts. So Ms. Alethea, you talked about having finished your high school diploma online. Have you procured and gotten transcripts yet from your high school diploma? And if not, do you know the process to be able to quickly get your hands on those transcripts? Because chances are, as you think about applying to get your education and potentially for scholarships, you're going to need to be able to access those multiple times, multiple ways pretty quickly. So if you do not know the process to get your transcripts, I highly encourage you to get them.
Yeah, I have it.
Now, I'm going to tell you, you should. And one, you want to have a copy on your computer on file for your own personal purposes. I always keep copies, hard copies and electronic copies of every transcript, my high school, college transcripts, all the time. Because what happens is when you need to get ready, it's going to be hard to get them as quickly as you need them. So order some sealed copy ones that you never open, because those will become your official transcripts. And then keep a copy where you open it and you know what's on your transcript and you've seen it, and you are also saving it electronically, so that if someone says, "Hey, Miss Alethea, I have this great opportunity, but I need to get your transcripts in order to really take you serious or to, advance you along in the process." Well, guess what? I have an unofficial copy on my computer. Woo, let me shoot those over to you. But what happens when you can't shoot it over that quick? Now you got to figure out who to go to. Hope they're in the office, hope they're not backlogged, hope they can get it out before this person loses interest in you and the position. So you want to make sure that you do it now when you're not in need of your transcripts and you understand what it takes to get them. All right, so next we're going to talk about essays and letters of recommendation. Did you know you need two types of both? You need essays and letters of recommendation as you are applying to colleges. Why are you a good candidate for college admissions here? That's a different kind of essay you're writing and letter of recommendation than it is if you are writing from the angle of, hey, here's why we should give Miss Alethea our scholarship money. So when you're asking for recommenders, ask them for if you need it for college admissions or for employment purposes or for scholarship purposes. Ask for the different types because they're worded slightly different. I think that's very important. I generally will give essay writing tips to teens. I'm going to generally share that as you're sitting down to pull together any essay, don't run from the essay writing, embrace it, number one. A lot of individuals fear writing essays. They don't think their communication skills are strong enough. They don't have to be the greatest. That's why there's resources and tools to help you. There's too much information and too many tools that we have access to handicap ourselves with, I'm not a good writer anymore. So what I encourage you to do is break out that scholar profile or that one-page resume we already talked about, because it has a snapshot of all the things that you're really great at in one place. So once you have broken out your scholar profile, you're going to sit down and you're going to put together a simple writing plan. Okay, what do they want me to write about? How do I want to organize my thoughts? Let me do a little bit of research. And then you start to piece it together with some brainstorming. I think I want to talk about when this happened in my life. And I think I want to talk about 3 key points about that. And then I'm going to summarize it at the end by coming back around to why this matters with this scholarship or this college admissions application. And then once you finish brainstorming and outlining, to me, that's the most important part, because if you do that part well, writing your essay will be so much smoother. That's when you sit down and compose your essay, and then you certainly spend time proofreading. I don't care how great of a writer you are or you think you are, and I think I'm a pretty decent functional writer, but I always will revise my writing multiple times. I will always have trusted individuals proofread and critique my writing, and I will run it through online proofreading resource or service. I use Grammarly a lot, and it has been outstanding, and it will send me back a corrected version with red lines and marks about things that I need to consider or change, and it's very valuable. Also, when you're writing essays, follow directions. That's pretty important in the process, and make sure that you adhere to the deadlines that you have been given. So if you're not adhering to the deadlines and you're not following directions, don't be surprised if your essay doesn't get you where you need to be, and if you don't walk away with that selection for scholarship or for admissions. It's always a great practice too to save all of your essays. Save them with titles, leadership essay or essay about an obstacle or challenge I experienced. But save all of your essays so that you can reuse them. And make sure that you demonstrate that you have knowledge about whoever it is you're seeking some sort of assistance or decision from. Whether it's a college or a scholarship entity, research them. Find out what is unique about that college or university or what you resonate with. Maybe it's their core values. Maybe it's they're built off of the legacy of family. Whatever that is, think about it. Look for some factual based detail or statistic to help you to bridge the gap between what you know about them, how it fits what you're doing, and how you're going to utilize that. Always talk about how you're going to make a difference. Nobody wants to hear you just talk about you. This is the opportunity for you to brag on yourself and have a me kind of a moment, but always end your moment of me with a moment of we. I like that. I'm gonna have to coin that. End your moment of a me with a moment of we, how I can help everyone. And so I had coffee probably about 5 or 6 years ago with a young lady who had received over $1 million in scholarships. And when I sat down with her and I said, Maya, what did you do and how did you get all these scholarship awards and offers? And I said, what did you put in your essays that other people have no idea what to put? And she said, I always talk about how I'm going to make a difference in society, in my community, on a job, maybe be an impact or a service to others. So I would encourage you through your writing. It's okay to talk about an obstacle you experienced, how you overcame it, what you learned about yourself, and how you're going to use that on this new college campus, or how you're going to be impactful with your career with it. But also circle back around to how you're going to make the world or your community a better place because of these things. So those are some key things that I want you to consider as you're writing. Always have an introductory, a body, and a conclusion. Be organized about how you write. There is nothing worse than a disorganized essay that is just simply difficult to follow. What's going to happen to an essay? And me being a scholarship evaluator before, let me tell you what happens to essays that are difficult to read, a bunch of errors, and is poorly written and difficult to follow. I put the whole application to the side. I'm turned off. I'm like, this isn't what I'm expecting from a high caliber quality scholar. And so you're going to be marginalized or put to the side. And I don't want to see that happen. So follow some of these strategies to help you. And then I've listed here, I'm not going to get into the details, but these are some of the prompts to help you with your essay writing topics. These are the common ones you're likely to get asked to write about. Now, as you're writing, what if you say, I do not like writing, typing? Well, use the text dictation function within Google Docs to assist you. I highly recommend you use a Chrome browser, but it's a great tool to do voice over typing. It'll translate your words into text. Then you'll have to go back and clean them up because it doesn't pick up every word exactly, it doesn't punctuate your paper the way you might want to turn it in. So never, never, never only use a translate to text feature without going back to edit your own work and format it. I wouldn't advise that. It's likely going to get your essay thrown out and it would have been a waste of time. So next, you make sure you want to have someone proofread your essay, but do this first. Read it out loud to yourself. If your essay makes no sense to you, I can pretty much guarantee you it's not going to make sense to anyone else. So read it out loud for context, for quality, for complete sentences. Make sure there's no typos and misspelling, and for alignment purposes before you hand it off. But then when you do hand it off, give it to someone you trust so that they can review and edit your essay. Okay. I'm also including 3 different essay writing editors that you'll upload your essay, and it will spit out some recommended edits and changes for you. That's a great way if you're not the strongest in math, or not math, but in English or with grammar, run it through one of these tools and it will help you to catch quite a bit of errors that you might have. Now, as we talk about letters of recommendation, I simply want to say, make sure you provide your instructions with those to the providers that you want to write, or recommenders you want to write a letter for you, and make sure that you are giving them time, setting their deadline to give you back your letter of recommendation before your deadline. And once you do that, you'll know you'll get it back, and you can put that with your package or give them instructions on how to submit them directly to the entity that needs them. But it's your job to know what the instructions are so you can pass it on to your recommenders. And then make sure you save those letters of recommendation. And you can even provide your recommenders with the scholar profile that we've been talking about, along with your recommendation request. And the one thing that I would offer, and most people don't think about doing this, but I think it makes a huge difference, is, have you ever thought about drafting your own recommendation letter? Well, you should, and tailor it. And what you would do is you would ask someone to write you a letter, and it would go like this. Hi, Miss Alethea. I am Christie, and I was in your English 11 class. And now I'm getting ready in my senior year to apply to colleges. And I would love it if you would write a letter of recommendation to me. Here's my scholar profile, my one-page resume, and here's my sample letter of recommendation. And I would love for you to, I've already pre-drafted it, and I'm happy to email it to you. And I'd love for you to tailor this based on what you know about me. So between the scholar profile, which has all my background, what I want to do next, what I've already done well, and a pre-drafted letter of recommendation, I guarantee you, you will get your letter of recommendation back and get it back fast, and it'll be at the top of their list because you have made it easy and it's already formatted. Now, in my suite of templates, I do offer you a sample letter of recommendation that you can use to help you draft your own letter of recommendation. And it will guide you through some of the adjectives you might want to include that describe you and activities that you have going on that makes you uniquely you. And so lastly, I want to talk briefly on this segment about taking the SAT and SAT test. It might not be as applicable to you, Miss Alethea, at this stage, but generally speaking, I do recommend that students take these tests still, because while some colleges don't require these tests to get admitted into college, some of them still use them to determine who they're giving merit scholarships for and scholarships to. So this is one of those things that is tricky. If you haven't taken a test because you're like, woohoo, I don't have to take it because I can get admitted without it. Yes, you can. But don't be surprised if you miss out on merit scholarships. If you haven't asked the university if they use these for merit scholarships, you might be missing out on those opportunities because you never took the test. I highly encourage students to still take both tests. Now, I am including a comparison, and I'm not going to go into it, of what you'll need for the ACT and how many sections they have versus the SAT. It'll be included in the slide deck that I provide to Ms. Chiquita. But also the upcoming dates for the SAT and ACT are provided here as well. So with that being said, I also think that students should take the test the first time, then figure out which test they tested the best, the ACT or the SAT, then take a prep course. And here I am listing some prep courses that I think you could benefit from, or you could do your own research and find one that fits into your price range and your online learning or your learning approach that you want to take. And you should take the prep course and then immediately take that SAT or ACT test again. It will greatly improve your skills and your test scores. Now, as you complete your college application package, make sure you have the application in it. I always tell my students to create a checklist. You include all those things that we talked about, your transcripts, the application, the essays, your scholar profile if you can, if they said it was okay to include it, and more. But have a checklist and make sure you've checked off all the things that are required for your package. And once you've applied to those colleges, now you want to make sure you wrap up your academic year. If you're in high school, finish strong. Look for those acceptance letters to come in. Once they do, follow the instructions, because many acceptance letters have deadlines and actions you have to take. Please follow the instructions. Read the letter thoroughly and then follow the instructions, and make sure that you're completing your free application for federal student aid. That's the financial aid application that we'll talk more about, and review any other financial aid information that they give you so that you can make a timely decision. And then let's say you've selected your college. What do you do after you've selected your college? You should be making sure that you complete all the college or university's instructions. Make sure that you set up an email address if you haven't already, so that you can, the school usually will have their own email address for you to use. So set that up, and any other enrollment or orientation activities and fees that need to be paid. Make sure you pay all the subsequent fees that you need, and make sure you order your transcripts. Again, after you finish your high school or your high school diploma or your college degree and you're going on for more education, make sure you complete and get copies of your transcripts. I can't stress this enough, how important it is to have those before you need them. And then look for scholarships if you find you need the funding to do so. So what I really want you to take away from this segment are to think about your next moves, whether you're in high school, whether you are a professional, think about what you want to do next, put together a plan with a budget, and really do your research. That's why, I always tell my sons and other young people, you have these electronic devices and access to real-time information. Use it to your benefit and use your time wisely by being prepared and staying ahead of what you know you need to get accomplished and not stressing yourself out because you didn't use your time effectively. If you don't have a scholar profile or one-page resume, I highly recommend you start this weekend and create one. And then you get yourself organized. Have a file structure, both a physical paper files and folders that you keep to organize yourself, but also electronically on your computer. Make sure you stay organized. And don't waste people's time, y'all. As you find that there are individuals who are going to write letters of recommendation for you or review essays, etc., please don't waste their time. Make sure that you get them back the information that they have asked you for so that they can help be responsive to what you need them to do. And always say thank you. So that concludes the first part, the whole college and career planning part. And I know it's very abbreviated, but I wanted to cover a lot to get you to thinking about what do I need to do next to think about my career and how to bridge my career plans with my educational pursuits. So it's never too late to go back to school. There are so many ways that you can get an education now. Don't feel like if you didn't do it the way Sally did over here or Joe did it over there, that you can't be successful. There's too many options on getting an education now for you to limit yourself in the ways in which you're capable of learning and capable of getting what you need. So I'm going to pause to see if there are any questions. And then we're going to jump right into the college funding part because I want to share a few things to help you with looking for funds for college. Okay, well, just ask any questions. I'm going to keep moving forward. So now that you have chosen careers, identified colleges, started applying for colleges, and you're starting to get those award letters back, and you say, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay for this education? Let's talk about that part. So after I wrote my first book, I started going out. I had book signings. I spoke nationally in different places and spaces. And I had a resounding common denominator. Families would say, Dr. Christie, we got accepted into blah, blah, blah colleges. But guess what? We couldn't figure out how to pay for it. We didn't have the funding, or we didn't have as much saved up as we thought, or we just downright can't afford to come out of pocket. So that's why I wrote my second book, College Funding Strategies. I wish someone had told me. And so in this book, I share 10 strategies to help students to graduate debt-free. So we're going to share and talk about those things. And as I mentioned, I have the book that's published on Amazon, but the workbook of templates that shows you not just what to do, but how to go about doing it and streamlining that process is also available. So I will touch on and reference some of those tools. If you don't think these strategies work, I'm here to tell y'all they do. I have a cousin on the left who went to Hampton University on an ROTC, Navy ROTC scholarship. He must have had over $150,000 of his tuition education, room and board paid for without spending a penny out of pocket. And so he graduated in 2019 with honors. And I was super proud of him because he used my system. These things that I'm sharing with you really work. And then the young man on my right, my youngest son, was on an athletic and an academic scholarship at Norfolk State University. And he majored in computer science, but he also had over $130,000 and more in benefits from his college education. So these strategies work. Again, they went through some discomfort, but you got to be willing to get uncomfortable to get comfortable with those successes. So we're going to take another brief journey. This time we're going to focus on college funding, and we're going to talk about what can you do to help better understand the cost of college. What does it take to get your education? creating your own plan and navigating through the college, the financial aid process, and how to look for funding if you still need it. So this current funding assessment tool is similar to the one we talked about with college planning. Know where you're starting from. If you know that you are a working professional, you don't have a lot of funds to commit to your educational pursuits, but you know that you want to get more education training and skills, and you want to be able to migrate or change careers, think about your funding needs and your funding shortfalls and put together a plan. That's essentially what that is saying. And as you put together that plan, it's very important to know how much is it going to cost. And really the cost of attendance is how much will college cost, whether it's the direct cost, what you pay directly to the college or university, like tuition and fees, room and board, or indirect costs, things such as books, supplies, laundry, transportation, things that you need to make it every day, but you don't necessarily pay the university, but those are also real costs that you want to be tracking. I always find it interesting showing this diagram where you have the cost of attending college and how it increases frequently due to inflation. But as you can see, the public in-state school is the most affordable option out of the three, followed by the public out-of-state. You can really expect to double what you pay out of state to go to that same school if you were in-state resident. And the private colleges and universities are even higher. And so you certainly want to look at those factors. Do I want to go public, private school, in-state, out-of-state to go to school? Because those things have a financial implication to you. And my whole point to you is go where you can afford to go without going broke. So there's too many colleges out there for you to not be able to find some that are affordable, but that's going to require you to do a little research. And then the longer it takes you to get that degree, the more you're going to pay out of pocket. So if you're going after a 4-year degree and you goof off, or you have a bunch of classes you have to retake over and over again, and now it looks like you're not going to graduate to year 5 or year 6, you are increasing how much you're going to have to pay out of pocket. So I always tell students, time is money, and you want to make sure that you don't leave any more on the table than you have to in terms of tuition and your time. Again, you should have a plan. It is okay if you combine the plan we had in the first part of the workshop with this plan in the second part, but your funding element should be on your college and career plan. You should specify what things cost, what the tuition will be, when are those deadlines, so that you can have a comprehensive way of knowing what's going on with your college and career efforts. Now, how are you going to pay for it? So when you're building the plan, you need to think about what are the different ways can I afford to pay for college? Can you pay out of pocket? Have you saved up some money? Do you have a college savings plan? Can you tap into maybe life insurance? Sometimes individuals can use their whole life insurance policies to help pay for college. Or are you interested in, if you have it available, to tap into your retirement plan? While I don't recommend this option, sometimes it's necessary to dip into your retirement plan and use some of those funds to help offset your education, especially if you don't want to have to take out student loans. Now, those were the inside sources, like things that you have control over. Other outside financial sources of getting your education paid for, you can leverage financial aid. You can apply for scholarships and grants. You can even ask your employer to reimburse some of those costs. But employers usually reimburse them after you've been with the company for so long, or if you ask. Sometimes your company and your employer has educational reimbursement, but unless you don't ask, they're not going to share it with you because they really don't want to use it on everybody. But if you ask, they have to be fair about how they administer those funds. So I would encourage you to ask. My nephew went to work at McDonald's one year, and after 90 days, he was eligible for $2,500 in educational employer benefits, but he would not have known if he didn't ask. So whether you work at Walmart, Target, McDonald's, or wherever you work, ask the question. Go to your HR and folks and say, what kind of educational reimbursement opportunities do you have? And find out to use that to help offset your costs too. So then you know that there's financial aid, which is just really money that'll help you pay for college. And the government, federal government, gives out over $120 billion to over 13 million students each year who are pursuing education, who complete their financial aid. And financial aid types include work study, where you work on campus and they will offset your tuition by that amount that you worked. Grants, which is gift aid, money that institutions or entities will give you that does not have to be paid back. Or scholarships. That's another form of free money or grant or gift aid, as I like to call it, where you might have public or private individuals have you apply for those scholarships. And if you're awarded, you also have access to those scholarships. And then there are the student loans. Student loans is money that you borrow that you will have to pay back. And according to the U.S., according to the Education Data Initiative, there's $1.7 trillion currently in student loan debt. So 45 million people have student loan debt and have borrowed money. And on average, they have a debt of over $37,000 as of 2023. So anything that we can do and we can talk about to help you to minimize how much money you have to spend out of pocket is exactly what I would encourage you to be thinking about. I always thought this was interesting. Where in the United States is student loan debt the highest? As you can see, the District of Columbia, Maryland, Georgia, Virginia rank in the top 4. So in our area, we know that the cost of living is high, minimum wages are low, and then trying to get an education in these environments is even that much more challenging. So as you go into building your plan, you should want that information and to know that so that you can be strategic about how you go about looking for the funding. Now, I do want to draw your attention that if you want to go after that, what was it, $120 billion worth of federal and state funding that's available, you would want to have completed the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA. It's free to apply. You can apply online at fasfa.ed.gov. They just revamped their application this year at the end of 2023 for the 2024-2025 academic year. And so I would highly recommend that if you have not and you plan to go to school this fall or next spring, complete the FAFSA as soon as possible. I would say by June 1st or June 30th, I'm sorry, by June 30th. So you want to complete this, have it on file, and send it to all the colleges and universities, whether it's a 2-year, 4-year school, or graduate school. Send the FAFSA to your school so that they will know what type of financial aid eligibility to calculate for you. And every year while you are in school, you will need to complete this form out. It does not auto renew for you. You will need to go in and update your information and apply for the next academic year as well. So those are the key things. There is some information on the new FAFSA form. They streamlined the actual application itself, and they will ask you up to 18 to 26 questions to help navigate through what are your financial opportunities and hardships and things that you might experience. And at the end of you answering those questions, and you'll need your tax documents and other financial documents to go walk through this process, they will provide you with a student aid index, a SAI number. This number will tell you how much they think you can pay out of pocket towards your education. So if you don't think you can afford to pay a lot, but they do, then that's when you'll start looking for other means of funding like scholarships. So when you sit down and complete the FAFSA, you'll make sure you want to have your ID, your tax forms, bank statements, asset statements, investments, real estate, all those documents. You'll need to create your own username and student aid ID. You and your child, if you're doing it for a parent and a child doing it. But if you're independent, then you will need to create your own student aid ID number and have that available. You'll add your colleges, and once you complete the form, it's going to give you a report with your student aid index and your Pell Grant eligibility. So grant funds are state and federal funds that you may be able to get access to from completing the FAFSA. So I love sharing this chart because it's the most simple way of walking through what happens with the financial aid process. We're going to start in blue. You are going to sit down and complete your FAFSA form either by yourself or with your parents if you're still under their umbrella. And you're going to specify which colleges you want your scores sent to. And once you complete the FAFSA, it's going to email you your student aid index and your Pell Grant eligibility, whether you're eligible or not. And then it's also going to send those scores to those numbers to your colleges. Then you're going to calculate your financial aid. The colleges are going to calculate your financial aid. Every college's calculation is different, so don't expect all the numbers to look the same with every college. And then you're going to get issued and sent a financial aid award letter. This is where it's going to tell you how much they think you can pay out of pocket. If they say, hey, Christy, you don't have to pay anything out of pocket, we don't think you can, we're going to cover most of your tuition, room, and board with financial aid, that's great. That's what you want. If they say no, you're going to have to pay substantially out of pocket because we think you can afford it, then you may have to ask yourself, do I have enough financial aid or funding? If the answer is no, I do not have enough funding and I have a shortfall, that's when you want to start looking for scholarships, which is my favorite kind of talk to have. And so I just want to remind you, scholarships is free gift aid that you do not have to pay back. That's the difference between a grant and scholarship versus a student loan. Student loans, you have to pay them back with interest. Some loans, interest accrues while you're still in college. Others wait to accrue after you're out of college. But you will have to understand the specifics of those as you're accepting the financial aid. So there's 5 ways to win scholarships. 1, make sure you tailor your scholarship application. 2, use and build your scholar profile. 3, search for those unique and low competition scholarships. Those are the scholarships most people haven't heard about and they don't even know to apply for, which increases your odds if you do apply of getting awarded one of them. I love those unique and low competition scholarships. And then once you start to search for those scholarships, start to put together a list of scholarships and put them in the order of their deadline so that you can tackle them each month and not feel overwhelmed by the process. And don't write trash essays. Quickest way to get you disqualified with a scholarship is to have a crappy essay. So we're going to talk about it. You want to tailor your scholarship application. If this is a financial need scholarship, you might want to attach some financial documents to demonstrate your financial need. It has many of the same areas that you would see on a college application, the test scores, the transcripts, the essays, and potentially the scholar profile that you created. You might also be asked to provide a letter of recommendation to highlight your activities, interests, or to provide those financial documents. So be prepared to read the instructions again and make sure that you apply and only provide what they've asked you for. You want to save all of your scholarship content, your essays and your scholar profiles in particular, so that you can reuse those. But also consider looking at the colleges you're attending. They may have scholarships, and looking at your particular major or your college career, particular type of scholarships that might be available. Those could be excellent sources of scholarship opportunities. And then make sure that you read the instructions thoroughly and proofread even your scholarship applications as you're moving forward. We've already talked about you should have a scholar profile, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. And this is one of the ways in which you should be using it. But I do want to talk about searching for unique and low competition scholarships. Your scholarship search matters. Now, I will run into individuals who don't have no money, don't know how to get no money, but then when it's time to apply for scholarships, they'll say, well, I don't want to apply for small scholarship awards. I only want to apply for the big ones. And I'm always scratching my head like, well, you don't have any money today, so $500, $1,000 scholarships, they add up. So what my message to you is, don't turn your nose away or turn down small scholarships. Small scholarship awards matter too. Look for those scholarships where only a few people know about them. And I'll tell you, those are gems because the competitions are usually low. And most of the people who apply and meet the eligibility requirements are usually granted scholarships. Few people apply for those. Look for those that you're very eligible for. A lot of people don't want to write the essays. So guess which ones you should be looking at? The ones that have essays, because most people don't want to write them. The ones that you have to have letters of recommendation. Again, most people don't want to have letters of recommendation or go out and ask for those. So you want to make sure that you're going out and dotting the I and crossing the T to give yourself the most value and a competitive edge. No one is you. So you have the unique ability to looking for scholarships that are so unique to you that they couldn't possibly have a lot of applicants. Now, let's talk that through. We're going to read through a brief scenario. And then I want you to think about what kind of scholarships can Gloria apply for. Gloria is a Japanese American high school senior with a 3.92 grade point average, who lives in Virginia. Gloria wants to attend college and major in chemistry. She can also play the piano well. She's very smart, but has concerns that her ADHD might hinder her from learning at the same pace as others in college. Gloria is also concerned that she cannot afford college because her father died during COVID-19 and her mother's income is low. She reached out to me because no one in her family went to college and they did not or do not understand the college funding process. What types of scholarships can Gloria apply for? Does anybody want to share with me maybe the number or the different type of scholarships that you see that are unique to Gloria that stick out from this example? Let me know in the chat or come off of mute. What do you think Gloria can apply for?
For the ADAD and then COVID-19.
Yes, thank you, Miss Alethea. You're absolutely right. So let's highlight those two certainly stuck out. You'll see the ADHD one here, number 9, the COVID number 10. But what if I told you I quickly counted 13 that make her uniquely different? She's a female. She's a minority female. She's a minority female as a senior in high school. She's a minority Japanese female with a high GPA living in Virginia. Virginia has state and local scholarships. She's interested in STEM. So that's the value in knowing what you want to major in before you actually get to college, because you can target some of those scholarships. And she can also, she plays the piano. People are giving away scholarships for arts, talents, interests. Her ADHD, those who have any physical, mental, medical challenges may have an opportunity. You're looking at it, sometimes we look at our situation from a doom and gloom, like Miss Alethea. There are scholarships for international students. Students who might not speak English as their native language. So I'm sharing those tips with you because I want you to think about your situation differently and more positively to target those scholarships that could absolutely, most Americans can't get access to because they're not uniquely Miss Alethea, for example. Same with this, and this was an actual student who found my phone number from one of my college planning books, dialed my Google number in the book, and I actually answered. And she said, "Oh my God, you answered the phone." And she went on telling me all this about her life history. And when she finished, she was like, "I have no idea on how to start. I can't find any money. I don't know where to look." And by the time I listened to her rattle out her profile like this, I had about 10, if not more, scholarships she should be searching for too. She also mentioned that her father was deceased. There are scholarships for students who lost a parent or low income households, financial based scholarships, financial needs scholarships. She also said no one in her family went to college. That means she qualifies for first generation scholarship. So as you can see, and I'm probably not done with all the examples, I could go on, but I wanted you to see that there are so many different type of scholarships that you can pursue that you should be thinking about. I'm actually looking for students right now who are interested, who have at least a 3.5, who are interested in a military ROTC scholarship, male and female. I have someone who awards and gives away scholarships. So all of these different type of opportunities are out there if you will just look at your situation slightly different than you ever have before. Nobody's going to penalize you because you have to work, take care of your family, and get an education. In fact, there are scholarships out there for single parents who have children who are working professionals who are trying to get an education. So turn your unique situation into an opportunity. So when people say, well, Miss Christie, where can I find scholarships? I remind them everywhere. Google can be your best friend, whether you're looking for scholarships based on a career, profession, or major, or you're looking at some of these other factors I have highlighted around this segment, whether it's nonprofits, religious groups, they all have access to scholarships. Professional organizations. I'm an engineer. If I go to the Association of Blacks in Engineering or Women in Engineering or Society of Engineers or International Society of Electrical Engineers. There's so many different professional organizations, nursing school, business schools, doctors, lawyers, teachers, you name it. They all have professional organizations that are looking to find you to give away funds. And most of the organizations that I'm professionally affiliated with never have enough applicants. Where are y'all at? So I say all that to say, keep looking for scholarships in the most unconventional ways with your unconventional backgrounds and use that as a strength, not a weakness. And I'm really passionate about that if you couldn't tell. Use keywords when you go to Google. Put the keywords in quotations. So if you put in scholarship applications, don't just say applications. Say you're looking for $1,000 scholarship applications in the state of Virginia for 2024. Why? Because you want to weed out 2023. We're not in 2023 anymore. So I want to focus on the scholarships I can get right now. And so you want to complete those. You want to put those keywords in that stuck out in Gloria's example. This is example of Gloria's search. But she can use so many different spinoffs from the keywords that she put in, that she's going to find some really unique scholarships that have low competition. Low competitions equals high likelihood of getting awarded a scholarship. So that's what I really want you to take away from this exercise. Now, once you start searching, you're going to do this fantastic Google search. Now I want you to track all those scholarships that you find. Don't just look at them on your screen and close them out. I want you to put the name of them on your tracking sheet, copy, paste the link. So when you go back to apply, you can click that link and easily get back to that scholarship again. The eligibility requirement, how much money are they awarding if should you get this scholarship? Very important. The deadline, when is it due? Does it require an essay or letters of recommendation, etc.? So use these tools because they will help keep you organized. I did this with my sons, my youngest in particular, who would apply for a number of scholarships. And I always tell my my children, but any young adults and professionals I help, you're going to love me, you're going to hate me, and then you'll love me again. You'll love me before we get started. You'll hate me as we're going through the process because I'm going to say, let's use these tools and these templates. And just the grunt work that goes into it is not very warm and fuzzy. But then on the back end, when you start to see acceptance letters come in from colleges and award letters come in for scholarships, you're going to love me again because you'll see the process works. So I'm really interested in making sure that you use your time doing the things it takes to get you the results you want and not building the templates or building the processes. The processes are already there. And then I'm not going to talk a lot more about essays except to say this. When you're looking for funding, especially post-COVID, your essays are going to be the biggest differentiator between you and everybody else because you can tell your unique story like nobody else can. So I want you to start your essays out by grabbing individuals' attention. Make sure you answer the prompt they asked you. Don't write about what you want to write about unless they tell you to do that. Write about what they're asking you to, nothing more and nothing less. Don't start your prompts out with restating their prompt or my name is Christie, or it all started when I was 8 years old, or with somebody else's quote. Don't do any of those things. Start out with a unique something that lets them know more about you. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're writing a prompt and they ask you to write about a time when you were demonstrated leadership skills. Well, I would start mine out with, I ran for senior class president and I lost. No, I grabbed somebody's attention. Oh, she ran and lost. Oh, this ought to be interesting. Well, why is she starting out with a loss? Because it's what I learned on the back end about myself and the process and what it means to be a leader and how I overcame that disappointment that ultimately will make the compelling essay that I write about. And so I want you to think about something that uniquely tell your story, give them a compelling hook and share something that you've experienced, how it made you feel, what you overcame, what you learned about yourself. That gives people more insight into who you are. So your writing should be the storytelling of your life, your legacy, your future, and what you want to do to make a difference. And we've talked about a lot of those things already. So I'm not going to go back into that again, but I do want to say, make sure that you end your essays by sharing how you match the values of that entity. Do your research, go to their About Us page and find something that you can connect with and highlight that in a very organic way in your writing. So, but there are more strategies. I even have workshops where I focus primarily on essay writing that could benefit you as well. Also, even with your scholarships and your funding process, have a plan on the front end and a checklist on the back end. Y'all finding some patterns with how I talk about all these different things? Because the more organized, simplistically organized you are, the more you're able to get things done without stressing and being overwhelmed. Have a checklist. Make sure you use it. Make sure you have everything that has been asked of you included on it, and just knock it down and use your plan to help you navigate that. But I want to begin as I began, and that's by saying, be willing to put in the work. I started out with the video that talked about work ethic. And when I hear the best part of what I do outside of being a parent and a mother is helping people. And when people circle back around to me, and I try not to get emotional as I say this, but I've helped thousands of people get into college, get their education, find funding, scholarships, and more. But nothing resonates more with me than working with people who say, you know what, I'm not where I want to be, but I appreciate your strategies. I use your strategies, they work, they helped. And me hearing that, if I can make a difference in one person's pursuits, it is all worthwhile. So I share all that to say, as I conclude, be willing to put in the work. And if you're willing to put in the work, I'm here to help you. Utilize my templates. They're available to you. Don't wait till the last minute if you know you want to pivot and shift in any way in your life, educational wise, professionally, or in general. Have a vision for your life. And so use that to put together a plan. And once you have a plan, start early in committing to making incremental progress. And have your plan put together in a way that really works for you. Get yourself organized. Use these strategies that I am sharing with you. The good news about the Housing Opportunity Commission, who hosted and sponsored today's event, is they will have copies of both of my books. And I know that Ms. Waller may be giving away some giveaways and raffling off some of my materials. So I hope that you will be a recipient and have the benefit of utilizing these tools. But I hope that you do everything you can to apply for scholarships and to look for those funding opportunities and educational opportunities without having to go broke and spending a lot of money out of your own pocket to doing it. And the one last parting thing, when students ask me, well, Dr. Christie, well, how many scholarships should I apply for? And when should I stop looking? never, you look for scholarships every day, every week. Have a system. I usually tell young adults, spend a day, one day a week, maybe it's Sundays, whatever day you don't really have a lot going on, and set aside a few hours to search for scholarships. And then a couple of hours to actually apply for the scholarships or jobs or educational opportunities, whatever your goal is. And don't stop until you get what you need. So if you know every year you're in school, you still have a funding shortfall, that means you should be looking for scholarships every year until you graduate from college or with your education that you were pursuing.
301 609
All right. So I would
4890.
encourage you to certainly take these strategies to heart. Let me know if you have any additional questions. I'll also have a free scholarship strategies ebook that you can download, and it has some of the strategies that we've talked about here today and more included. So that's a free resource available to you. Now, this is important. If you're on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, I do share scholarships that I hear about that I know many people are not applying for. So if you join one of my exclusive groups, Scholarships for Scholars, or my at Christie TikTok page or channel, you will have access to the scholarships when entities push them out to me and say, hey, Dr. Christie, we don't have that many applicants. Well, guess what? I'm going to put them in my exclusive groups first, because I want y'all to have access to scholarships that most other kids or adults don't hear about. So please join me on social media. And again, I have a host on my Invest in Others YouTube channel. I have a host of other more targeted talks that are recorded that you can watch to help you with your essay writing and more. Join me on August 3rd and 4th for my virtual College and Career Excellence Summit. I host it every August. Those students and adults who attend both days, it's on a Saturday, Sunday, from like 10 to 3 on Saturday and from 3 to 6 on Sunday after church. I actually give out scholarships, but you can't get access to my scholarships unless you've attended both days of my summit. And I see you on, you're actively engaging, etc. But I would love to have you join me. You can register online. It is free to attend, which really baffles me. It's a free event for a chance to win scholarships by the second day. And you would be surprised how many people won't commit that short amount of time to help position themselves differently. But I invite you to do so. And then also, let's see, I know that there is a final, it's not on the 8/11, and I meant to change this slide out, but join us on May 30th. There is a resume writing and job search webinar hosted by the Housing Opportunities Commission. And so May 30th, and you use the same registration that you use to register for today's event, but it's May 30th, not May 11th. And join us at 10 a.m. so we can share more information on how to get your resumes ready to rock and roll for your job search. So with that being said, that brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope that you found some golden nuggets to help you, Miss Alethea, with your pursuits. And I'm happy to pause for any questions you might have.
I have not much question, but I will try because for me, in beginning, I just looking for some knowledge, maybe some certification or some diploma that I can pursue, because I'm not looking like a long time, like a bachelor degree that take it 4 years. I'm not really confident that I can do it well, because I just joined the what's called WordSource, and then I'm qualified. I already take like intake, but the course that have the choice in there, you cannot modify. You have to take whatever that come, and then I didn't fit any of that, you know.
I see. So
Yeah,
you're
I mean, I'm interested in like cybersecurity, but the knowledge that I have about a computer is not that you know, like not really that nerve about that technique, you know. And then I try to study myself first, and then I take the test, and then I'm not doing well, and then drop my confidence to take that cybersecurity class.
mm,
Because in that cybersecurity class, they have a 2 class, while the scholarship only 5,000, and then the 2 class that's gonna become like 7.5, and then they only give the class for 1 week. And then I say, how can my brain can digest that knowledge in 1 week, while the people take for 4 years to become a cybersecurity?
I see.
So I'm not there. I don't know how to explain it, that I'm eager one to go, but also I have that scary in me to go in that process, you know.
I understand. So it sounds like you have some apprehension and just some nervousness about it. And that's perfectly normal, especially when you're transitioning to something that's new and
Yeah,
different. And then you have, some other concerns that you talked about already. But I just really want you to stay encouraged, Miss Alethea.
yeah,
And there are a lot of people who are struggling trying to gain that confidence too. But stay the course. I think the key is to find something that you're really excited about and passionate about that
yeah,
will give you on those days when it feels like it's a struggle or you're more anxious about it or you lack confidence, you almost need to grasp hold of something that you feel like, even though I'm nervous about this, it's still worth me continuing and pursuing it. And look, as I tell my 23 and my 20-year-old son, it's okay to maneuver. I don't call it failures, I call it learning. So it's okay to try different things out
mm-hmm.
and see how well you like them, because sometimes it's through your exploration that you stumble upon something that you really really are interested in and passionate about. So give yourself some room to explore. Don't
Yeah,
consider it as a failure. Think about it as a learning opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to pursue cybersecurity. Let me start with one course, start with one assignment, and try to do the best you can with that one. And then at the end of it, say, do an assessment and sit back and say, well, how did I like that? How did that go? Is that something I want to take another or continue to pursue? Or did I learn anything new about myself that would make me want to pivot and go in a different direction? And it is okay to do so. I know sometimes we have these pressures we put on ourselves that we have to have it done by X time frame. But I would
yeah,
encourage you to keep to be okay with exploring to some degree so that you
yeah,
find something that you feel comfortable with, you're excited about, but you have the confidence that I can do this well, I can pick up this content and material and the
yeah,
skills that I need to do it in. So I think it's just going to um, involve you continuing to explore your interests. And I know you're taking some courses, and I think it's really good that you're already engaged in, development and getting some, educational courses under your belt. But continue to do that, and slowly your confidence will build. And celebrate the small things too, Miss Alethea. Every
yeah,
time you take a class and you do good on an assignment, pat yourself on the back. So
yeah,
those small steps turn into huge successes over time.
yeah. I mean, I tried to look for the job that I did in the past, and then what the skill that I have. And then I also thinking, oh, now I cannot do that anymore. Like sometimes I do like CNA as a private duty. Um, I have a 2 years ago accident that I have problem with my nerve. So I mean, like if I force myself to carry something, I can, but in the end, make my back hurt. You
Mm.
know. So I'm looking something that I can do with my knowledge and skill that not encourage a lot of strain, you know.
Understood. I
Yeah.
want you to take that career assessment that I shared
Yeah, I
in the
already have a
presentation.
screenshot on it. So I
Okay,
will look
great.
after that. Yeah.
Because I think you're going to learn some things that you already know about yourself. It's going to
Mhm.
affirm some things that you already know that you enjoy
Yeah.
and that you're interested in. But I also hope that
But
it
I love
surprises
to
you.
help people, you know.
Yes. And I think it'll give you some other options. I just dropped the link in the chat too. But I think it'll give you some other options to explore too that might not be too far off from some things that you already know and some skills you
Okay.
already have. So try that out too and see if you learn
Yeah.
anything new or different about you in terms of career.
Okay. Yeah, I will do that. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. I
You did a
appreciate
great
you attending.
presentation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And if you need anything, I'm also going to put my email address in the chat. Feel free to send me an email if you have any questions.
Okay.
Make sure I spell that right. And best of luck to you. And reach
Thank
out if
you.
there's anything else I can do for you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Both of you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Miss Waller.
Thank you. My apologies. I forgot I took myself off of mute, trying to walk and
Oh,
chew gum at the same time.
no problem. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of
Thank
your
you very much.
Saturday.
Thank you.